Welcome to the Daily Tea on September 17th, 2021. And today we start in Augsburg in Germany. The CDU politician Friedrich Merz sees the long transition phase at the end of the era of Chancellor Angela Merkel as one of the reasons for the union's difficulties in the election campaign. He says, since Mrs. Merkel announced in October 2018 that she would no longer run for party chairmanship, almost 3 years have passed, so 3/4 of the current electoral period. Merz told this to the Augsburger Allgemeine, that's a German newspaper. And he said, this time did not go well enough for the CDU in terms of content and concept. According to Merz, the fact that Merkel remained in office for the full legislative period as federal chancellor after her resignation as party leader also contributes to this. The union has waived the official bonus of a successor to Angela Merkel, and that is why we are now going to the federal election in this historically unique formation, he said. That has advantages and disadvantages, but the question has been decided. The CDU, the union, lost its favorite status in the polls within a few weeks and is now clearly behind the SPD, the Social Democrats, a week and a half before the federal election. And now let's go to Los Angeles in the United States. 8 years after her first Christmas album, US singer Kelly Clarkson is releasing a new Christmas carol. The 39-year-old announced on Wednesday in an Instagram video. You know, I'm obsessed with Christmas, said Clarkson. The single Christmas Isn't Cancelled, Just You, should appear on September 23rd. You will love it, said the musician. Since the beginning of her career, Clarkson has repeatedly recorded cover versions of famous Christmas classics. In 2013, she released her own Christmas album entitled Wrapped in Red. The singer also had her own Christmas program on the American broadcaster NBC called Kelly Clarkson's Cautionary Christmas Music Tale. The most recent release in 2020 was Under the Mistletoe, a duet with country singer Brett Eldridge. And now let's go to London in the United Kingdom. Prince Andrew suffered a setback in the abuse scandal surrounding the deceased US entrepreneur Jeffrey Epstein. The lawyers of the second eldest Queen's son had tried to delay the start of the trial. A court in London decided on Wednesday to serve Andrew with a lawsuit brought by Virginia Giuffre. The American accuses him of having sexually abused her several times as a 17-year-old and therefore demands compensation. Andrew denies the allegations. Whether the lawsuit was properly brought is a matter of dispute between the two sides. The lawsuit is related to the abuse scandal involving convicted sex offender and US multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein, who committed suicide in prison in 2019. Prince Andrew was several times overnight guest at Epstein's property in the USA and in the Caribbean. And now let's go to Port of Spain in Trinidad and Tobago. The Minister of Health of Trinidad and Tobago has contradicted a much-discussed tweet by US rapper Nicki Minaj about alleged side effects of a corona vaccination. The 38-year-old had written on Monday that a friend of her cousins in Trinidad had swollen testicles after being vaccinated against the coronavirus and that he had become impotent. You heard this in another video of mine already. Caribbean State Minister Terence Dialsing said Wednesday there were no reports of such a case. He said, unfortunately, we wasted so much time yesterday investigating this false claim, he said. Minaj, who was born in Trinidad and grew up in New York, initially announced on Twitter on Monday that she would not be vaccinated for the Met Gala. The fashion show in New York on Monday, where a vaccination was mandatory, that's why she stayed away. Shortly after this tweet, the anecdote about her cousin followed. Minaj also advised her more than 22 million followers to think carefully about the decision to vaccinate and not to be intimidated. It's so irresponsible to do something like this. For this, the pop star earned a lot of ridicule and criticism, even offline. Britain's top government medical advisor Chris Whitty said Tuesday, Minaj should be ashamed. There are people who spread untruths about vaccination even though they knew better. Her tweet was a topic of conversation, especially in the USA, because the influential right-wing TV presenter Tucker Carlson praised her as sensible on his Fox News program. Carlson keeps sowing doubts about the necessity and safety of vaccines against the coronavirus. Minaj had recently tweeted that she would probably get vaccinated at some point. On Wednesday, she wrote that she had been invited to the White House. There she will ask questions on behalf of the people who have been ridiculed for simply being human, as she puts it. That's not human anymore. But let's go to New York, also in the United States. Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan have shown themselves to be honored after being named on the list of the 100 most influential people in Time magazine. They were filled with humility, it said on Wednesday, on the website of their Archwell Foundation. At the same time, Harry, who turned 37 on Wednesday, and Meghan paid tribute to the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. The WTO boss, who also appeared on the US magazine's list, had shown a groundbreaking leadership style. Harry and Meghan particularly emphasized Okonjo-Iweala's efforts to make corona vaccines available to people in developing and emerging countries. They said she has encouraged governments, trade organizations, and individuals to understand vaccine distribution and vaccine equity as inseparable from economic recovery, the couple continued. And now we once more have to go to London in the UK. In the reshuffle of the British government's cabinet, there is a change in the Foreign Office. The previous chief diplomat Dominic Raab is moving to the Ministry of Justice, as the government seat Downing Street announced on Twitter on Wednesday. In addition, Raab will be appointed Deputy Prime Minister of Boris Johnson and Lord Chancellor. He is to be succeeded by the previous Minister of Commerce, Liz Truss. Truss is considered a darling of the Conservative base and made a name for herself internally with a successful conclusion of several international trade agreements after Brexit, which are... Raab had been heavily criticized in the past few weeks for being on vacation during the hasty withdrawal of the Allies from Afghanistan and for returning to Great Britain late. The previous Attorney General Robert Buckland, as well as Education Minister Gavin Williamson and Housing Minister Robert Jenrick, had to vacate their posts. Further changes to the cabinet post were expected later in the day. It's about putting together a strong and united team to better advance the recovery from the pandemic, a government spokesman said. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.